September 16, 1975, Washington, D.C. Inside the grandiose hearing room of the United States Senate, the air is thick with tension and cigarette smoke. The cameras are rolling. The world is watching. At the center of the room sits Senator Frank Church. He is holding something that shouldn't exist. It looks like a standard Colt .45 pistol, but it has a strange, bulky scope mounted on top and an oddly modified barrel. He lifts the weapon for the cameras. He points it not at a person, but at the idea of democracy itself. This isn't a weapon for a soldier. It isn't a weapon for a police officer. It is a weapon designed for one thing only: murder without a trace. This is the famous heart attack gun. A weapon so silent, so subtle, and so deadly that for decades most people thought it was a myth. But on that day, in 1975, the CIA director himself, William Colby, had to admit the terrifying truth. The agency had built a gun that could kill a man from 300 feet away, leaving no entry wound, no bullet, and no evidence. The victim would simply collapse, and the coroner would write 2 words on the death certificate: natural causes. Welcome to the Shadow Dossier. Today, we open the file on the ultimate tool of assassination. To understand why this weapon was created, we have to go back to the darkest days of the Cold War. In the 1950s and 60s, the Central Intelligence Agency was engaged in a shadow war against communism. They weren't just gathering information. They were removing obstacles. This was the era of executive action, a euphemism for state-sponsored assassination. The CIA had a problem. Shooting a foreign leader or a troublesome diplomat with a sniper rifle creates a martyr. It creates a geopolitical crisis. It points a finger directly at the United States. They needed a way to kill that looked like an accident. They needed plausible deniability. They needed the perfect crime. Deep within the fortified walls of Fort Detrick, Maryland, in a top-secret division known as the Special Operations Division, scientists were working on a project called MK-NAOMI. While MK-Ultra was focused on mind control, MK-NAOMI was focused on the biology of death. They were hoarding anthrax, smallpox, and a library of the world's most lethal toxins. The crown jewel of this collection was a substance simply known as shellfish toxin, or Saxitoxin. It is a neurotoxin derived from the algae that causes red tides. It is incredibly potent. A dose the size of a single grain of sand is enough to kill a grown man. The scientists at Fort Detrick managed to distill this poison into a pure, concentrated form. But having the poison wasn't enough. You needed a delivery system. You couldn't just walk up to a dictator and slip it into his drink. You needed to touch him from a distance. This is where the ingenuity of the CIA's Technical Services Division took a dark turn. They modified a standard .45 caliber pistol, but they stripped out the firing mechanism. A normal gun uses an explosion of gunpowder to propel a bullet. Gunpowder is loud. It creates a flash. It leaves residue. The heart attack gun was different. It was battery-operated. It used an electrical charge to ignite a small amount of water, creating a sudden, silent burst of steam. This steam pressure propelled the projectile, and the projectile was the true genius of the weapon. It wasn't made of lead. It wasn't made of steel. The bullet was a tiny dart made of frozen water and the shellfish toxin. It was an ice dart. Imagine the mechanics of this assassination. An agent waits in a crowd or stands on a balcony. He aims the weapon using the scope. He pulls the trigger. There is no bang, only a soft click quieter than a camera shutter. The ice dart flies through the air at hundreds of feet per second. It is so thin, barely the width of a human hair, that when it strikes the target, the victim feels almost nothing. A mosquito bite, a small pinch. The dart penetrates the skin and buries itself deep in the muscle. And then, the evidence disappears. The ice melts. The water dissolves into the bloodstream. The only thing left behind is the toxin. Within minutes, the Saxitoxin begins its work. It blocks the sodium channels in the nerves. It paralyzes the muscles. The victim starts to feel numb. Their breathing becomes shallow. Their heart begins to flutter and then stop. They collapse. By the time the ambulance arrives, the dart is gone. There is no metal fragment for the surgeon to find. There is no exit wound. Even if they do a toxicology screen, Saxitoxin is extremely difficult to detect unless you know exactly what you are looking for. The doctor looks at the body. He sees a middle-aged man who suddenly grabbed his chest and fell over. He sees no signs of foul play. He signs the death certificate. Heart attack. And the assassin walks away, leaving absolutely zero proof that a crime was ever committed. During the Senate hearings, Senator Church asked CIA Director Colby about the poison itself. The exchange was chilling. Colby admitted that the agency had stockpiled enough of this shellfish toxin to kill thousands of people. He revealed that the cost of producing this poison was astronomical. The toxin was so rare and difficult to extract that the agency's stockpile was worth millions of dollars. But the most disturbing part of the testimony was not the gun itself, but the context in which it was revealed. In 1969, President Richard Nixon had signed an executive order banning the United States from developing or stockpiling biological weapons. He ordered all stocks to be destroyed. The CIA, however, decided that this order did not apply to them. A middle-level manager at the CIA, a man named Dr. Nathan Gordon, decided to hide the shellfish toxin and the delivery systems. He stashed them away in a secret freezer at a CIA laboratory, disobeying a direct presidential order. He testified later that he did it because the substance was too valuable to throw away. It took 5 years and a massive Senate investigation to find out that the CIA was still holding on to its biological arsenal. This weapon represents the peak of Cold War paranoia. It represents a time when the intelligence agencies believed they were above the law, above the president, and above morality. They built a machine to kill people and make it look like God did it. The question that haunts historians to this day is, was it used? The CIA officially claims that the weapon was a prototype. They claim it was never deployed in the field. But let's look at the reality. The CIA spent years developing it. They spent millions of dollars refining the toxin. They built multiple delivery systems, including a version disguised as a fountain pen and another disguised as a walking cane. Is it plausible that they went to all that trouble just to leave it in a freezer? There are theories. Suspicious deaths of diplomats, defectors, and foreign officials during the Cold War often looked like heart attacks. We know the CIA tried to kill Fidel Castro multiple times using poison, poisoned cigars, a poisoned diving suit, poisoned pills. Is it so hard to believe they might have taken a shot with the ice dart? One famous case often cited by conspiracy theorists, though never proven, is the death of repressionist leaders or inconvenient witnesses who dropped dead of heart failure in their 40s or 50s. Without the dart, there is no proof. And that was the entire point. The weapon worked exactly as intended, even if we never found a body to prove it. The Church Committee hearings in 1975 were a watershed moment. For the first time, the American public saw the toys of the spies. They saw the poison gun. They saw the documents detailing mind control and illegal surveillance. It led to a brief period of reform. The gun was handed over to the Senate. The toxin was supposedly destroyed. But technology does not move backward. The heart attack gun was 1970s technology. It was analog. It was bulky. Today, we live in a world of drone warfare, nanobots, and advanced chemical synthesis. If they could build a silent, invisible murder weapon 50 years ago, using a modified pistol and some frozen water, what do they have now? We have seen the use of Polonium-210 to kill Alexander Litvinenko in London. We have seen the use of the Novichok nerve agent in Salisbury. The methods have changed, but the goal remains the same: to reach out and touch someone, to end a life, and to send a message. The heart attack gun sits in a museum now. It is a relic of a different time, a time of spies in trench coats and secret drops in Berlin, but it serves as a terrifying reminder. There is a line that governments are willing to cross in the name of national security. When you watch the news and hear about a sudden, unexpected death of a high-profile figure, a heart attack in a hotel room, a stroke at a dinner party, you might accept it as tragedy. And it probably is. But somewhere in the back of your mind, remember the image of Senator Frank Church holding that pistol. Remember the ice dart. Remember that the perfect weapon is the one you never see. This concludes the file on the heart attack gun. We have explored the missions, the traitors, and now the weapons. But the world of espionage is not just about guns and poisons. Sometimes, the most valuable secrets are the ones that are stolen from right under our noses. Next time, we open a new chapter. We will dive into the world of industrial espionage. We will look at how the Soviet Union didn't just steal bomb designs, they stole the designs for the Concorde. The next file is waiting.